Hey guys, what's up? It's Sean, Autotopia LA. If you don't know this guy, this is my friend Dave. If you haven't seen the video we shot with Dave previously, you might want to go back and watch it because it's a pretty funny one. At that time, I had talked to Dave, I think once or twice on the phone, gave you a little grief about being an attorney. I met you at the quarantine cruise one time.
Yeah.
But like, we didn't really know each other.
Yeah, I couldn't stand you.
The truth is, since then, you can't get enough of me.
I know.
He calls me every morning to wake me up, make sure life's good. You're one of my closest friends by far.
I consider you one of my closest friends.
I was hoping he was going to say that part, you guys. We'll start with the engine on this one because you had a different engine in here. Everybody in the last video was like, best sounding car I've ever heard. You grenaded that engine pretty much.
No, I didn't grenade it. It just needed to change the thrust bearing, but I checked the whole motor and everything looks really good.
Really?
Yeah. The reason I made the change is because I love this engine. It's got a really beautiful sound to it. The other one did too. This one is remarkably better.
So the engine that's in here, was this in here before and then it came out, the other engine went in?
Yeah, and I did drop a valve in this one after, I don't know, 15, 20,000 miles on it. So I bought the crate motor and put the 363 in it. And then when the thrust bearing did what it did, I was like, it's time. These great guys up at Mako, they went and put the whole thing together and I now have like 500 miles on it. So it's a young motor, but it's good to go. Now I have an oil cooler on it and I have it's called an AccuSump. Those fill with oil and they take up a little bit more, and my oil filter takes like a quart itself. It's a really big oil filter.
And the AccuSump's what you flip the switch in there for, right? It brings up oil pressure before you start the car.
Exactly. So before you start it, the motor's got like 20 pounds of pressure. So it's really nice. You don't have to concern yourself with like cranking the motor over to get some oil pressure before you fire it.
Right.
So it's just a convenience factor. Also, if you go around corners and you lose oil pressure, it will dump oil into the motor. And you'll see inside the car, I have a light in there. It's not a shift light. That light's to tell you that you don't have oil pressure. If it drops below like 25 pounds, it'll kick the light on.
Yeah.
But because I have the AccuSump, it'll make up that difference.
It's so funny, you just don't care. It's just let things dangle and flop.
Well, the more dings you put in the car, the more character it has.
This
You know
car
what I'm
has
saying?
character,
You
man.
see this stuff?
Why don't you explain what this engine is then?
So this is a 289 block. It's been punched out. It's around a 302. This motor really likes RPM. So the valve train in it is really stiff. It's got stud girdles in it to hold everything in place.
It's got what? Stud girls?
Stud girdles.
Oh.
I also have these really beautiful Holman Moody valve covers, which I think are just nostalgic, cool.
Totally.
I've got a solid roller camshaft in it. It has over 600 lift in it, so it gives it this nice big sound. And it also has 13-to-1 compression, which the other motor had 10. So 13 more compression, more pop, gives it a really robust sound. So something that I really enjoy. And a lot of people comment on it, and I appreciate the comments. It's really cool. They love the sound, and I'm just grateful to have it. And then I put the cooling system in it. It takes up quite a bit of oil. And then I've got the AccuSump. It's a really big oil filter. It's a Wix oil filter. It like holds a quart of oil by itself. It's really massive.
It's huge.
You know, it's got a 650 carburetor on it. It's been modified. What else? Oh, the heads, not a common head. You probably can't even find these heads. They're called Allen Root Pro 1 heads. Ford endorsed these heads and were commonly used in Trans Am racing. They're a 193 intake and a 1.6 exhaust. I love the sound of it. I like the way the car sets up, the way it runs. You can rev the thing to 8,000 RPM. It pulls so hard up there. It's like, you don't want to let off. So I put a 73 chip in it, so I won't be tempted to keep blasting it up there because, you know, I have a tendency to drive a little aggressively. So that's kind of the story behind it.
And what do you power-wise, you've never dynoed it, huh?
No, never dynoed it. I did talk to the engine builder because they build these all the time.
Yeah.
And he says it's somewhere between 525 and 550. It's a little bit more power than the 363.
Yeah.
Makes different power. The 363 makes a little more mid-range to 6,500 power, 7,000, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
This one starts making power at about 4 and goes to 8, and the power is a little more dramatic and more aggressive. The other cool thing that I really like is the lightweight flywheel is a McLeod clutch system. It's a dual clutch, and the flywheel looks like a spider web. You know, it's really all the weight's been taken out of it. So it gives the car a real blip, a quick blip.
Yeah.
And it revs very quickly. So like 10 miles an hour to 150 miles an hour, it's like there, quick.
Yeah.
After that, it's It's enough. 150.
We're not going to find 150 today, Dave.
I'll make sure we don't go over 149.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Exactly. We're going to put a limiter on it. What's the trans in it?
It's a TKO5. It's the transmission that's been in it for 7-8 years now.
So it really takes a beating because you drive. I mean, let's be honest. You drive the piss out of your cars.
Yeah, but they're pretty strong transmissions. I'll break it at some point, you know.
Yeah.
Just replace it, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then it's got a 9-inch locker rear end.
I was just going to say, it's got to have a Ford 9-inch back there. I mean,
well, everybody runs a Ford 9-inch.
They do. So your car, because everybody always asked, what is your exhaust? And there was a whole thing with the auger and all that.
Yeah.
With the new engine in here now, same exhaust, different exhaust?
It's different from the headers. So the header is a custom-made, even length, so they're all the same length. So that's different than the tri-wise that I used to have on. Makes it a little bit louder, but they flow a little bit better. And then from the collector, going back, is pretty much the same. I did replace it all. I put a X pipe in it, just like we did before. I moved it and lengthened it slightly. The exhaust system is at 2.5 inch. It's 2.5 inch except for the muffler itself, okay? It's the same muffler. And then it runs out to the side here. I think it might provide a little bit more torque because of the smaller pipe. I'm not an expert on that stuff, so I don't really know. So that's kind of the exhaust system.
Does it still have the auger in this one?
Yeah, it's the same.
It is.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
There's a guy over here in Placentia that does beautiful exhaust work. I highly recommend the guy. Not too expensive.
What's his shop? Is that Muffler Man?
Muffler Man, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I still have the Hoosier tires on it. These Hoosiers are the toughest doggone tire, I'm telling you. I have
because you pound
beaten the crap out of these things, and
they
still have tread on them after a very long time.
Are those still real magnesium wheels or no?
The rear. You don't want to run them on the front because, you know, they get hot. The disc brakes will make them hot, and you don't want to catch those on fire because that's a big problem. But the rears are, because I got a drum brake in the rear. Not only that, but I do have a cooling system for the rear.
What's your wheel tire size?
They're 245 squared. They're 50 R15s. So it's a 15-inch wheel. That's not used very commonly, and I understand why, because it's hard to find a tire. There's not a lot of tire selection.
And brakes.
So these are basically off of like a Lincoln for the luxury car.
That's what your front brake is on here?
Yeah. But they work really well on a Mustang. Everything's manual on the car.
Everything, I know that.
It beats me up a little bit, but
yeah,
it's kind of fun to get in and out.
This car does beat the piss out of you. It just does. I've had it for a whole weekend before, and it's after a few hours on a couple of days, you're like, yeah, I'm done. I just don't need to drive it today.
But it's fun while it's going on.
I couldn't agree. I mean, it's one of the most fun cars I've ever been in.
I don't have any issues with it, no leaks, in spite of the fact that I give it a beating. She doesn't cry.
Yeah. We never mentioned, too, it's so funny. I jumped straight into it with you. Just in case you guys are wondering, it is a real GT350. It's a 66 GT350.
Well, we'll leave that to the experts because they always come out and point and
say that it's not real
or whatever, and it's whatever. I don't really care whether it's real or not. It's not for sale. Number two is I'm just going to drive the car. Well, I don't care what it is.
Well, and even if it is, so much of it's been changed. It's not the numbers matching all original collectible.
The seats, the roll bar, everything.
The suspension.
It doesn't have the original gas tank in it. It doesn't have the original motor. It doesn't have
so much of it's been changed. Yeah.
So you just drive and have fun with it. So
I was starting to say suspension. If I remember correctly, it's still all stock subframe unibody. It's all still. That's still original stuff. But as far as the shocks, control arms, any of that stuff, has that been changed? I can't remember.
The control arm in the front, it has a Shelby drop on it, so you're basically using the stock stuff. They've been reinforced.
Yeah.
And then it has Coney shocks all the way around, which are really adjustable. They're really nice.
Yeah.
And the car drives.
And it's still leafs back here, right?
There's still leaf springs in the rear. They've been kind of mashed down a bit to allow for it to sit the way it does. And there's a panhard bar and a few other little goodies back there to keep the car straight.
Yeah, if I remember correctly too, this car, your fenders and quarters have all been rolled, right? To give you a little more room there.
Yeah, you need to do that if you're gonna run a 245. So and it still catches in the front, so I've given up trying to keep that front fender down.
So that's why we see like here in the corner, right?
Yeah, I go a little faster on corners and things flex and move and catches the tire and the tire shoves it up there and everybody's like, oh, you need to put a bar in there, all that. Just drive it, It's not a show car.
Yeah.
It's just
No,
something fun to drive.
Dude, your
You know?
approach just cracked me up with this car. It's so like, well, I told you today it looked weird pulling up. I was like, what looks so weird about your car? Oh, I know. It's been cleaned. I'm not used to seeing this car clean in the slightest.
I rarely wash the thing. So recently, there was a video that was done of the car, and there were horses around it. They were throwing food on the car to get the horses to go around the car, and they had licked all over the car. So I finally said, you know, probably need to give it a bath.
Yeah.
So,
And I know in the trunk, so you got the master on-off here, but in the trunk, fuel cell.
That's the battery box.
Oh, that's the battery right there.
If your car were to flip over or anything like that, or some fuel would get leaked or something, that box will prevent problems. And then I've got the fuel cell, another safety issue.
Yep.
And then there's a breather for the diff. Then your on-off switch, safety on-off switch. So if the car were to flip over and somehow there was, you know, big problem,
Turn it off.
turn the power off.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And then you shut it like a man.
No, you don't. It shuts pretty well when men do
know,
it.
but All right, so let's go interior. Now you guys gotta know. Like, I love Dave. I've given you so much grief about these friggin' seats. Dude, this part of this seat is the worst thing ever. I'm sure it's good should you be racing and you have some kind of, it keeps you pinned in your seat.
Okay, it's horrible for getting in and out.
And like,
No,
armpits,
that's
and you don't know how to put your arms. You're like, do I do like T-Rex arms?
It's not, the car wasn't built for you, it was built for me.
Well,
So
there's that.
It works.
There is that.
It grabs me just right. It's fitted for me. I moved the seat back and made it adjustable so anybody can drive it, but I moved it back so that I'll fit in there. And then you'll see the red light, the light I was talking about. You see with the red cap on it?
This red light is not actually a shift light. That's to let him know when he's got low oil pressure.
Yeah.
And then the switch right here,
Is the AccuSump.
that's the AccuSump, right? So,
Yep.
so you just turn that on at cold start, right?
I leave it on and then just turn the key to ignition. You just watch the pressure gauge. When it gets up to about 20 pounds, I just fire it.
Then you start the car and then you shut that switch off.
No, just leave it on.
Oh, that's right. You leave it on so you're never starving
Right.
for oil.
And it works. It turns it on and off. And then I have the tach next to it. And then down below, I have engine temp and oil temp. And oh my gosh, trying to get that thing over 180 degrees is rough.
This thing runs super cool.
It's
huh?
cold.
Yeah.
I wish it was like 200 or 220, a little hotter, but that means I just got to go a little faster.
Yeah. What's your reason again for why the tach is turned sideways like that?
Because when it comes up, you see it with your eye. You don't
Got
want to
it.
look down, so it does this.
Got
so
it.
you can see it when it's
So
coming
just
up.
out of the corner of your eye, you can tell. Yeah, I got
Tell
it.
where you're at.
And you got a harness bar,
Yeah.
and then that's pretty much your whole interior.
Yeah, and you'll love the carpet because it's like really old, sun
carpet?
beaten.
What carpet, Dave? Is there a carpet? Oh, there is still carpet in here.
Oh yeah.
I just love this car. It's so funny, dude. This car is so you.
I take that as a compliment.
And over in the background here, you guys can see too, this is his next one, 65 convertible.
66.
66. This car is in its initial shakedown stuff. You've been doing some mild driving on it. You had to get the top. Couple things need to be sorted.
Soft top needs to be put on, put some carpet in it. There's a few little mechanical things I'm going to adjust, and then I've got my seat belts. You can see there in the back seat, just for Sean.
You guys,
All right.
we are going to do a full shoot of this car when it's all good, ready to go, and Dave's ready to be Dave driving it.
I've driven it a little bit. It drives beautifully, really does. There's 335 on the rear, and it's got a torque armor suspension in it with a big block, all aluminum, Shelby block, 8,000 RPM, big block though.
Yeah.
And it's a monster. Yeah, flat tap it. Yeah, it's really awesome. I've had this thing to 7,000 RPM, and it's heaven on
Glorious.
earth.
Yeah.
And I haven't even turned the nitrous on yet. It's got 2 stages of nitrous. Yeah, it does. So.
And I'm
so-
curious to watch it. It'll be fun, dude, to see in the comments, because the most replicated comment I would say on the previous time we shot this was how much people just couldn't get over the sound of it. I actually am in agreement with you that I think it sounds even better with
do.
this engine. It's even better. So I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say.
He's driving. Shit.
Boy, that thing snaps, dude.
I told you. Hit it. Hit it.
Wow! last time I was in this car, still breaking miles on the new engine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a long time since I drove it.
Yeah.
I forgot all the, like, and for one, total manual everything. Woo. Just whack, whack. I can't believe that the car sounds better now than it did before.
Yeah,
and before it was the best sounding car everyone's heard. I mean, I'm way down in the RPM, so it doesn't really start coming on till like in the 4 grand.
4,500.
Yeah.
Wait till you feel it. It's pretty wicked.
This is the ultimate in simple old school.
Simple old school, fun to drive.
That sound is so good. Give them a little earful. Oh, dude! Whack! It just snaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel the clutch is a lot stiffer. It grips
is.
really hard.
Yeah. Wow, this is so rad. You probably can't hear me.
No way they can hear you.
Oh, man. So it just takes forever to get the temp up on this thing, doesn't
Oh yeah,
it?
it takes a minute.
There's where it feels old school. It brakes, car kind of wiggles a little bit.
Yeah, it has something to do with the tire. The tires are cold,
All right.
so they're gripping on everything.
Right, right. I'm not going up enough in the RPMs for you.
I'll go to 6 grand at least.
The angling like that trips me out.
Okay. Told you. 65 's nothing.
That's freakish. Oh my God, the sounds this car makes. Unbelievable. You know, your car, I tell you what, dude, slightly different than it was before as far as like clutch input and throttle input and stuff.
Right.
But your car's still, it's
Very
a very
drivable.
easy car to drive.
Yeah, feels that way to me, but I'm used to it.
God, I smell the fuel. It smells so good. power for me where it's a lot of fun. It's not scare me power. Like it's
No. Oh, watch out for the water here.
Yep, I got it. Best sounding car around.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind.
Like there's nothing. It almost sounds exotic, dude. You know, it in a weird way, it almost doesn't sound like a muscle car.
Oh, I know. It's so fun sharing it with everybody. I hope they love it.
The suspension, dude, the floaty thing, it's old school still. Like it's not like a four-link and a this and a that and all the trick shit.
Yeah.
So it does things. That floatiness you get, not floating. I don't mean like Cadillac or something. I mean like it just kind of hops around a little bit.
A little bit.
What a wild car, bro. This is, and it's so you, dude. Knowing you as well as I do now, it's so built to who you are, and you know.
Oh, thank you. I love it. I love the way it rides. I like the way it drives. It's got lots of sound, which I love, and it just
got
brings a big smile to my face.
Character for days, man.
Second gear burnout. I haven't done it yet with this clutch system, so hopefully I won't break it. I break it. Oh, don't break it. Don't be a pussy.
It wasn't spinning.
No, it was spinning, but it pulled the RPM down too far.
Oh, okay,
so I clutched it again and hammered it.
Got it.
Because the clutch is so light that it just pulled the motor down.
It makes grip right away.
Yeah.
Got it. Just sounds evil. It really.
She's pissed off.
I mean, as wicked as this car was before, bro, it's nasty. After a ride like that, I must have a cigarette. There's nothing like going for a ride
I think I'll have one too.
with Dave
We'll have one together.
in the White Horse. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was so fun to reshoot this. Dave's become one of my closest friends in the world. There's nothing like his car. There's just nothing like it. The sounds that it makes, the way it drives, everything about it. You guys get it watching the video. So remember, we are gonna be back here at Dave's house shooting the Black Horse. So for now, I'm gonna say thanks for hanging and watching what we do, and I'm gonna go have a cocktail. After that, I need a drink. See you guys.